All right. So let's move on. There's a dearth of project management software out there, and it has really developed over the last couple of years, quite a bit, especially with sort of online and cloud-based software. So this chapter is in two parts. The first part is really about the software and understanding what software is out there and the different uses of the software. And then the appendix also goes into the use of Microsoft Project. Now, um, we for the assignment, you don't need to use Microsoft Project software. So the content is there, and the how-to guide. I'll post all of the relevant details. So if you are interested in going into Microsoft Project and wanting to understand a bit more, you can definitely do so. The content is in the textbook, and I'll be uploading some additional notes for you as well. So for me, this session really is about understanding project management software and why is it so important. So especially with the use of with projects getting bigger and bigger and more complicated, and software is a means of being able to keep track of everything. Now, the thing is, project management software isn't there to replace the project manager, and this is the interesting dynamic. Project management software is a tool that a project manager uses to manage the entire project. It should never be used to replace a project manager. With the different integration into calendars, calendar integration with applications that can be used on sort of mobile applications, and all of that, what you find is that, remember I spoke to you about right at the beginning how project management, the way of managing projects has become a way of working almost, for a lot of companies. And what you're finding is that a lot of companies are using project management software to track workflow. Um, and because it is so integrated to calendars, it's integrated to cloud-based sort of document sharing, it's integrated to remote work. What is happening is that a lot of just normal tracking of workflow, tracking of activities, tracking and making sure things get done. A lot of companies are employing some form of project management software. So there's two main types of project management software. There is the pure classic project management software, the likes of Microsoft Project and others. And those are real. And I mean, Microsoft Project is an amazing tool. However, there's a very steep learning curve to it. So you have to spend time in the software to pretty well understand it, and also to be able to use it to its full capacity. It is a phenomenal tool, but you do take a long time to fully be able to use it. A lot of these newer cloud-based solutions and these app-based solutions like Asana, like Monday.com, those are just some of the newer ones. These are these are newer tools that has been developed to make managing projects a lot easier, and there's a much smaller sort of or lower learning curve for project managers and also just for people managing and tracking workflow. Does that make sense? So you've got the really fancy sort of high-end type stuff, which is Microsoft Project, and then you've got a whole lot of others which are they're not meant to replace the project, but they're meant to be a lot more easier to use, a lot more accessible to everyone in terms of how it's used. Make sense? So mostly it is about mostly it's about budgeting and cost management. Mostly it's about communication, document management, integration and customization, and project planning. It's choosing a piece of software that can assist one, tracking cost, which is quite important, two, tracking documents and keeping a safe place for documents that everyone can access, and then most importantly for planning. So when we talk about project planning, we're talking about how do you set out your project on a timeline with milestones, with linking tasks in such a way that you know that when this task is complete, this task needs to be finished. So project planning tools is about who does what by when. And in essence, that every piece of software should be able to have as part of their features. Some of the additional features is project tracking and control, which is quite important. Report generation, especially when you're working with clients, being able to generate reports quite quickly. Something like being able to tell the client tells you, how are we tracking against our budget? You should be able to, at the push of a button, be able to give him or her a budget breakdown of the entire project. Your project solution or your project software should have that included. It should have resource management. You should know who is doing what and when are they doing it and how long are they doing it? How long is it taking? Are they working? Because remember, time is money, and a project time equals cost. So if you have allocated or if you have put estimated that a particular contract is only going to do it, it's going to take 6 hours to do, and the contract that takes 8 hours to do, then in that way, you should be able to track whether that resource is managed properly, how long are they taking, and so forth. And then risk management. So risk management in the same way as being able to see ahead, being able to see what is coming, being able to see whether what is going to happen in terms of the future, in terms of are we over our budget? Are we going over our time allocated? Um, and then security and access control. Your software should allow they should allow levels of authorization. So certain levels in the project should be able to access certain parts of the project. You don't want a contractor to go into the system and being able to change um, dates and be able to change budgets and things. So you want that security and access control in your software. So most importantly, when you choose your project management software, it's about, do you have the capacity or do you have the person or the people to learn how this thing works? Do you have the person to be able to go through the software, be able to understand it fully from start to finish, or from back to front. So you need a SME or system expert in terms of the system that you're going to use. Documentation and online help facilities, they should have the software that they're going to be using should have some sort of help. They should have some sort of support function. And most importantly, ease of use. And this is the tension. Your project manager or your project shouldn't be constrained by the project software that you're using. If at any point you are having to tell a client, sorry, we can't do that because our system doesn't allow it, then you are not meeting and you're not being sensitive to the needs of your clients. The system should never be used as a constraint. The system should not be a constraint. The system should be flexible. The system should be able to be adaptive and adapt to the needs of the client at all times. And it should also be feature rich, meaning it should be able to be used across different industries in different contexts. Um, and with the rise of cloud-based systems, there's no longer this requirement that you should have install this big piece of software onto somebody's computer. Nowadays, because of SaaS, which is software as a service, you subscribe to a service and you can access that service anywhere. You can access that service on a laptop, on any laptop. It's all cloud-based on an app, a mobile app, and it's really become a lot easier to engage with these software packages than it ever has before. Um, Integration into other systems. Now, this is a bit of a sensitive issue because how much integration do you want? Do you want to integrate it into your finance system, for instance? Do you, in order to bill your clients, do you want to integrate into your time and attendance system, in which your HR system, in which you want to be able to track time and attendance for different people as they're working on the project? Do you want to integrate into your calendar and into your workflow applications, or into your central database where you keep all of your documents? You know, now all of that can happen. All of that can happen. It just depends on the type of software that you choose and how much integration you want. Microsoft Project integrates with with the full Microsoft suite, and that is why it is still so popular by a long way ahead of any others. So serious people tend to use Microsoft Project. Serious project managers tend to use Microsoft Project. Whereas what you find is that things like Monday.com, things like Asana, these newer sort of cloud-based solutions has become a lot more accessible, because easy to use, easy to set up, and it still provides you with all of the functions. It still provides you with reports. It still provides you with easy tracking, with document integration, and so forth. Um, Obviously, you want a package that has some sort of vendor support. So if you're buying it from a vendor, you want some sort of training, some sort of support that's happened to the software. So some of the good things, or some of the advantages, be able to handle complexity of large-scale projects, absolutely. Increases accuracy. It can be quite affordable. Ease of use, manageability, and modifiability. Now, a lot of the cloud-based systems, you can't modify it as much because you don't have access to the code. But some of the other software packages that you can buy, bespoke packages, you can develop for a specific industry. You can develop it for a specific. So, for instance, in the construction industry, they use specific pieces of software that does everything for them. It manages the project, but it also does estimation for them. So they literally type in a 4x5 square wall, and it turns out a cost estimate for them in terms of how many bricks they're going to use, how much, how many cement, how many sand, how many stone, how many hours, and so forth. So there's certain industries which you buy bespoke packages for that particular industry, and it's specifically modified for that particular industry. Um, Record keeping is quite important, speed, and then what if analysis. So what if analysis is about risk management. How do you manage the risk of the project going over budget, or the risk of the project running late, or the risk of not being able to manage the client's expectations, and so forth. Um, and again, it's that tension between, does the system allow the flexibility of you being able to change very quickly and be agile and nimble, or do you become a slave to the system and the system dictates how you respond? One of the biggest issues with project management software is that it can become a distraction, which means the the process of capturing everything onto the system becomes the process, or that becomes the project management process. And that's not the project management process. The project management process involves people, it involves the planning of activities and the tasks, not the sitting down and capturing every little bit of minutia into the system. And that becomes the way in which you manage the project, because ultimately a project manager is about managing people. And if you don't have that ability to manage people, if you don't have that ability if you don't make the time to understand what the other team members in your team is doing, then the project can fail quite spectacularly, because you spend so much time in front of a screen capturing information versus understanding people as part of the project team. The project system can also give you a false sense of security, which means that you begin to believe everything that it says, and you have to sense check it. You have to check whether it is indeed the information that has been captured, because The system is only as good as the people using it. Let me repeat that. The system is only as good as the people using it. There's an old IT saying, it says garbage in, garbage out. Now, if you don't spend the time in sense checking the information that gets captured, then your reports are just going to be a product of all the garbage that you captured in the first place. The system isn't sentient. The system isn't artificially intelligent. The system only receives what you give it, and it gives you the reports based on information that it has. Some systems does require quite a steep learning curve. As I said, Microsoft Project is one of them. If you're never ever going to use it ever again, then spending 10, 15, 20 hours on learning how to use it is a bit of a waste of time. And again, that over-reliance on the system, that tension between the system using the system as a tool versus the system becoming a constraint as part of the process, part of the project management process. Does that make sense? This is an article that I wanted to share with you, 12 best project management software tools, a comparison of them, which also does give a breakdown of what makes a good project management tool, the different types. So they are what we call desktop tools. So Microsoft Project is an example of a desktop tool, and they're the very classic project management tools. There are web-based tools. So these are SaaS services, software service. You pay maybe a subscription, or you buy the software. You use it in the cloud. Then there are collaboration type tools. Multiple users can access the platform, work together, scheduling, issue tracking, portfolio management, document management, resource management. So all of those things that a good project management tool should have. And then it breaks down into some of the more well-known ones. So we got Rike, there's Monday.com is over there. We've got Asana. And then it goes down into the benefits. There's Liquid Planner, Trello. So Trello is one that I've used before. And again, if you look at the interface, it literally is, it assigns people, it assigns tasks, so it's a combination of managing a project, but it's also task management, workflow management, and so forth. And it's very visual. Asana is also a very good one. I quite enjoy using Asana. And again, there's a very good, there's a built-in messenger app. There's a built-in app in the mobile app as well. So you're always connected. There is, what else is there? Monday.com is one of the newer ones, which is specifically, again, it's a combination of workflow management, project management. Zoho is a pretty good one. It's one of the cheaper ones and one of the more accessible ones. ZenKit also, one of the more cheaper ones. Then what do we have? Basecamp. Basecamp is one of the older ones that has been around for a long while. Basecamp is used quite often by advertising agencies. Breeze is one of the new ones. I don't really know anything about Breeze. Red Booth, don't really know anything about Red Booth. Jira. So some of these ones I don't really know, but they all work. Podio, they all work on the same benefit. So a lot of them work on this, what we call a Kanban board. So a Kanban board is it's a Japanese manufacturing term. So it's essentially taking pieces. It's almost like robots. So Kanban board works on the robot principle. Red for you're in danger of not getting there, or it's not done. Green for it is done. Orange for it needs to be done, or it is coming up. So you can easily see very quickly reds, the greens, and the yellows to be able to visually see. So a lot of the software works on these visual tiles where you can quickly drag things and drop things into place and connect things. So the easiest project management software is intuitive and visual. Trello, as I said, is one of the better ones, and a good place to start is one of the digital tools, Trello and Asana. Does Google have one? Google don't have one, but a lot of people do use some of the Google tools.